Now, yesterday, the Foreign Secretary Liz Truss was in Peterborough discussing her economic plans and the future of the Conservative Party. Of course, she hopes to lead and become Prime Minister. This is what she had to say. The IFS this morning has said that without spending reductions, your tax cut plans may exceed the Treasury's fiscal headroom. Would you be comfortable with breaking your own fiscal rules?
My plans do not exceed the headroom. I'm very clear that they are about £30 billion worth of costings, and those are affordable within our current headroom. But what is not affordable is putting up taxes, choking off growth, and ending up in a much worse position. And many international bodies, including the OECD, say that our current policy is contractionary. It's likely to lead to a recession, and we simply cannot afford that. What I want to do is put money back into the pockets of hardworking people. I'm here in Peterborough today meeting families who are struggling with the cost of living. That's why we need to reduce national insurance. That's why we need to have a temporary moratorium on the green energy level to reduce people's fuel bills, so we can help families, we can grow the economy, and we can grow those tax revenues in the right way.
Do you think that your opponent in this race, Rishi Sunak, could he win an election as a Tory Prime Minister?
I think the problem is that if we continue with our current economic policy, which is forecast to lead to a recession, it will be very hard for Conservatives to win an election. What voters will judge us on is delivery. Are we seeing the growth? Are we seeing the opportunities? Are we seeing the spades in the ground? And I'm somebody, in every government job I've done, I've got things done. Whether it's at the Foreign Office with our tough sanctions regime on Russia, whether it's at trade with the trade deals with Japan and Australia, I'm somebody who pushes through, gets things sorted out and gets things done. That's why I want to be Prime Minister. This is a critical time for our country. We need bold action. We are in economic difficulty. The whole world is in economic difficulty. It's not time for business as usual.
Well, the Foreign Secretary Liz Truss there. Now, I want to explore something that has been taking place over the last few days. Fascinatingly, there were a number of polls released yesterday afternoon showing the state of play for the final stage of the Conservative leadership race in its first official day of campaigning. First, YouGov showed that by 62% to 38%, Liz Truss holds a commanding 24-point lead ahead of Rishi Sunak. This is amongst Conservative Party members, making her, of course, the favourite to become Prime Minister in just over a month's time. Interestingly, however, 15% of the Tory membership remains undecided, meaning that this race is not sewn up quite yet. But Sunak, of course, still has an uphill road to climb. At this stage, 62% of Tory members say Liz Truss would make a good leader, with 31% saying she'd make a bad one. For Rishi Sunak, those numbers drop to just 50% saying he'd make a good leader, and rise to, say, 42% say he'll be a bad leader. But perhaps most concerning for Rishi Sunak is when it comes to the question of trust, a fundamental question in this race. A whopping 40% of Tory members think that the former Chancellor cannot be trusted. Now, for Liz Truss, that's just 18%. And finally, in the all-important question of who does best against Sir Keir Starmer, this is a separate poll now. There has been some significant movement. Rishi Sunak used to lead in this question, but now Liz Truss has made up some ground, virtually indistinguishable there between Rishi Sunak and Liz Truss in terms of who does best against Sir Keir Starmer.